how to create a new GridBuddy grid from start to finish. To create a new grid, go to your Grid Wizard. In the Grid Wizard, from the Manage Grids drop-down menu, select Create New. This will open step 1 of the Grid Wizard, and you can see the steps right here at the top. The step that you are actively in will be highlighted, and after you've saved your grid, you'll be able to jump between steps. The first thing we need to do is give our grid a name. I'm going to create an opportunity grid, so I'm going to call this one. The parent object will be opportunities, and you can just scroll down. You have all of your objects here. Select the correct object for whatever your grid is going to be based on, whatever that top level object is. Data management is where you can specify edit permissions. Do you want people to be able to create, mass create within your grid, delete, apply filters of their own? I'm going to leave all of this untouched. Similarly, you can add some display customizations here. For example, you can choose how your grid displays by default, meaning if you have related objects beneath your parent object, do you want your grid to open up collapsed? Do you want it to open up partially expanded to show the children? Fully expanded to show the children and the records within the children? You can specify that here. Another thing you can do here is select how many records show up per page. The default is 20. If you have set up folders, you can apply those folders right here, which limits who can access this grid, and you can apply any custom code that you've built in this custom code section. If you've set up any custom themes, you can apply those themes right here at the bottom of step 1. Once you've customized step 1 of the Grid Wizard, come up here and hit Next. The Next button automatically saves your work and moves you to step 2 of the Grid Wizard. You can see up at the top, we are now in step 2 of the Grid Wizard. Now that we've hit Next, which also automatically saves our grid, you'll notice step 3 and step 1 are clickable. Please note, if you click step 1, 2, and 3 at the top, it does not save your work. If you click Next and back, you can jump between the steps and it will save your work. Step 2 of the Grid Wizard is where we populate the fields on the grid. On the left-hand side, it tells us what our parent object is, which we specified in step 1, and it shows us all the parent object fields in the center column. What I need to do is select the fields that I want in my grid. My selected fields will appear left to right across the top of my grid. If I want, I can enable my data cards. Data cards are enabled by clicking this icon right here. And what that does is it gives me the option of having primary fields, which appear across the top of my grid, and hidden fields, which only appear when I click to expand the data card icon in my grid. I can reorder by dragging and dropping, and this just allows me to really maximize the real estate in my grid by building vertically versus horizontally. In my opportunity grid, I want to add a related object, which will appear as a child in my grid. I'm going to select Opportunity Product over here. And as soon as I select Opportunity Product, I can see all of the Opportunity Product fields in the center column. And I'm going to select a handful of them. Similarly to what we did with Opportunity, I can activate my data cards, which will allow my Opportunity Product fields to have primary and data card fields. I'm going to reorder some of them to move those into the data card fields. I also have the option of selecting additional objects over here on the left. For example, I want to add account as a related object within this grid, but account is not directly related to opportunity. In GridBuddy, you can connect them. So I'm going to select account over here on the left. All my account fields are going to appear in the middle, and I'm just going to pick a bunch of them. And over here in my right-hand column, you're going to see account appears for me here, but I need to connect my account to the opportunity parent. To map it, I need to select an opportunity field from this menu and then select an account field that can connect these two objects together. Once I've done that, I can scroll down, and if I want, I can add a chart to my grid. I can add conditional formatting to my grid. If I want to say, if a certain field meets a certain criteria, highlight it red, highlight it green. This is a great way to draw the eye to certain fields upon loading your grid. At the bottom is where you would select any actions that you've set up for this grid. When I'm done in step 2, I'm going to come up here to the top and click Next, which will move me into step 3 and save my work. In step 3 of the Grid Wizard, I can define filters and sorting. There's always a default filter set up on your grid. It's named default, but you can specify what the default is right here. So if you want your grid to load and immediately be filtering by a certain field by default, you can set that up here. If you want your grid to show only opportunities that have accounts or opportunities that have products, here you can select has or does not have in these cross object filters. You can also set up grouping. You can group by row. You can also group by column, and this is especially effective transposing your data. You can sort your data by default right here. As I scroll down, you'll see that I can set up the same things for my child objects. When you're finished in step 3, click Save and then click Launch Grid. That will launch your grid. So what I can see here is the name of my grid and the parent object my grid is built on. On the left-hand side, I can see these little arrows that mean I have child objects within this grid, and if I click the arrow, my record will expand to show the child objects for each. If I had set up any additional filters, I would see those over here on the right-hand side. I didn't save a filter, and let's just say I regret that. You can easily jump back by clicking the More button. The More button opens up 3 links that take you back into step 1, step 2, and step 3 of your grid. Edit Settings is step 1, Edit Fields is step 2, Edit Admin Filters is step 3. So if I decide I would like to set up some admin filters, which will be a part of this grid for all users, I just go to More, Edit Admin Filters, and here I can immediately hit Create New. And let's say I want to set up a filter that shows only opportunities that have accounts. I'm going to give it a name right here, and I'm going to select Has Accounts in the cross object filters. And then I will hit Save, and then Close and Refresh, which will close my Grid Wizard and refresh my grid. Now the grid is refreshed, and you can see I have a filter menu. The default filter will always be there. That's whatever you set up in that default window. And my Has Accounts filter is also there. And as soon as I select that filter, what I'm going to see is only records that have accounts. I can go to the Show menu, and I can say, Show me all accounts. That will expand my grid completely and show me all my account related items. And you're going to see there's not a single one that's blank because I have filtered out all the opportunities that do not have accounts. If you're wondering, what are the account and opportunity product columns doing here? These are editable related columns. What that means is these are children objects that are being pulled into your parent column. They still remain here as children. This feature gives you an immediate glance into the children to answer common questions. For example, maybe this is contacts and you have the names of your contacts at the top level. And that means when you're looking at your opportunity or your accounts, you can immediately see your contacts. Editable related columns are modified in step 2 of the Grid Wizard. If you would like to turn them off, go to More, Edit Fields, and in step 2 of the Grid Wizard, what you will see are these dots on the right-hand side. By default, editable related columns is turned on for all children. You can come here and you can turn it off. These are called field properties. You have varying field properties depending on each field. If you have any questions about building a grid or any of the features that we touched on, check out our YouTube channel. We have extensive training videos. Also, you're welcome to just contact us at appbuddy.com. We would love to help you get started.